Have you ever found yourself wondering what it truly feels like to grow old and suddenly sense that the respect you once had, perhaps from family, friends, or even a partner, has slowly faded away? Have you grappled with maintaining your dignity and inner peace in a relationship, even when you've given your all, being kind, generous, and selfless? If you've ever felt invisible or taken for granted in your later years, I want you to know that you're not alone. In today's story, we're diving into the life of John, a retired teacher in his late 60s, who faced profound challenges after remarrying later in life. It's a story of love, loss, and the surprising ways aging can reshape our closest relationships. John's journey highlights the complexities of remarriage, the struggle to maintain harmony when respect and understanding falter, and ultimately, his courageous choice to prioritize his peace over constant conflict. This is not just John's story, it's a lesson for anyone navigating the uncharted waters of growing older. If you're in your golden years or approaching them, this story will resonate deeply. It sheds light on the harsh truths of aging, particularly when it comes to relationships, financial independence, and the shifting dynamics of family life. As we delve into this heartfelt narrative, you'll witness the emotional toll of constantly trying to meet the expectations of others. You'll learn about the sacrifices John made in the name of love, the heartache he endured, and the bold decisions that ultimately led him to reclaim his freedom and sense of self-worth. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with valuable insights into how to navigate these challenges with grace. You'll discover strategies for setting boundaries, reclaiming your peace, and ensuring that your well-being takes priority, no matter how much life throws your way. So, settle in and take this time for yourself. The wisdom in John's story may just inspire you to rethink how you approach your own relationships, finances, and happiness as you grow older. Trust me, this is one story you won't want to miss. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming videos filled with wisdom and life lessons. And if you find this story meaningful, please like and share it. It's a small action that makes a big difference in helping us continue to share these important messages. Thank you for your support, and let's dive into John's journey. After the devastating loss of my first wife, I decided to remarry, longing for a sense of companionship and a chance to rediscover warmth in life. Linda, my second wife, was 10 years younger than me, and in the beginning, her kindness felt like a balm for my grief. I was genuinely hopeful that this new chapter would bring us both joy and a shared sense of purpose. For a while, it did. Linda treated me with a tenderness that made me believe we could build a life of mutual respect and care. But that hope began to erode with time, particularly after her son, Eric, bought a house, a purchase to which I did not contribute financially. It was as though that single event flipped a switch in Linda's demeanor. The warmth that once defined her attitude toward me dissipated, replaced by an unspoken but palpable resentment. Linda's growing coldness manifested in ways that were both subtle and painful. She would withdraw into silence, her gaze heavy with disapproval, her words curt and measured, if spoken at all. It was a stark contrast to the woman I had once admired for her kindness. I found myself trying harder to bridge the emotional distance, determined to be the supportive husband I had promised to be. For my modest pension of $1,200 a month, I gave her $600, half of everything I had, every single month. Yet, despite my efforts to contribute, Linda seemed indifferent, barely acknowledging my gestures. She rarely spent any of the money I provided, hoarding it instead, as though saving for an uncertain future that excluded me. We lived simply, almost austerely. Both vegetarians, our meals consisted of eggs, fresh vegetables, and the occasional carton of milk. Our frugality meant our monthly expenses rarely exceeded $150, leaving the $600 I gave her more than sufficient to cover groceries. Yet Linda's resistance to spending even a fraction beyond the bare minimum became a recurring source of quiet frustration. Whenever I expressed a desire for fresh fruit, something I dearly enjoyed, she would begrudgingly bring back the cheapest, most unappetizing produce she could find: bruised apples, overripe bananas, or fruit long past its season. I tried to reason with her, suggesting that seasonal fruits were both affordable and delicious. But she would dismiss my requests with the same phrase every time: "They're too expensive." Eventually, I stopped asking altogether. The act of requesting fruit, once a small joy, had turned into a source of tension and disappointment. Instead, I began buying it myself. Strangely, Linda, who had always claimed she didn't like fruit, would eagerly partake in the ones I purchased, often selecting the freshest and most appealing pieces for herself. I tried to understand her mindset, attributing her behavior to her deeply ingrained frugality and aversion to unnecessary spending. For the sake of harmony, I chose not to confront her, believing that as her husband, it was my duty to be accommodating, even in the face of small indignities. But Linda's frugality was only one facet of her growing indifference. Housework, a shared responsibility in most partnerships, became an almost insurmountable task in our home. Whenever I asked her to cook a meal, she would find reasons to delay, sometimes for hours, until my hunger bordered on desperation. When she finally agreed to prepare something, it was done with such reluctance that it felt more like a burden than an act of care. And once the meal was finished, the responsibility of cleaning up, piled up dishes and all, was placed squarely on my shoulders. Linda would retreat to the couch, complaining of exhaustion, leaving me to tidy up the aftermath of what felt like a monumental effort on her part. These moments, small as they might seem, accumulated like drops in a leaky bucket, eroding the foundation of our relationship. I often found myself questioning what I had done wrong, and why the kindness and warmth that once defined Linda's actions had been replaced by distance and detachment. I clung to the belief that perhaps, with time, things would improve. But deep down, I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that the love I had once felt for her had been quietly replaced by something far colder, a transactional coexistence that left me yearning for the genuine connection we once shared. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Sometimes, I yearn for the simple serenity of a peaceful walk, a chance to feel the crisp air against my skin and to momentarily escape the chaos of life. But Linda insists on accompanying me every single time. At first, I saw it as an affectionate gesture, a sign that she cherished my company. However, her elaborate preparations quickly turned what should have been a tranquil escape into an exasperating ordeal. What began as a quick outing would devolve into endless waiting as she sifted through her wardrobe, rejecting one outfit after another. The pile of discarded clothes on the bed seemed to mirror the mounting frustration in my chest. Once she found the perfect ensemble, she'd retreat to the bathroom for another lengthy ritual, washing her face, brushing her hair to perfection, and applying layer upon layer of makeup. It felt as though she were preparing for a grand event, not a casual stroll around the block. The frustration simmered until it was impossible to ignore. These walks were supposed to be my solace, my way of reconnecting with myself and the world around me. So, I stopped inviting her. When I gently explained my need to walk alone, hoping she'd understand my longing for solitude, her reaction was anything but understanding. Linda accused me of having ulterior motives, claiming I must be going out to meet other women or flirt with someone younger. Her words stung, not because they were true, but because they revealed a painful lack of trust. It baffled me how she could misconstrue something as innocent as a walk into an act of betrayal. She knew how much I loved dancing. Dancing was my escape, my way of feeling alive and vibrant, a joyful reminder of the energy and passion that still pulsed within me. Yet, Linda never shared this love. She refused to join me for dance classes or social events, and instead of encouraging my joy, she criticized it. Her sharp words cut deeper than any physical pain. "You're too old to be out there dancing like that. It's embarrassing." Over time, the arguments chipped away at my spirit. I stopped dancing altogether, not because I wanted to, but because the constant conflict drained the joy from it. What once filled me with life now left a hollow ache in its absence. As if these struggles weren't enough, my heart carries the weight of my daughter Emma's challenges. She and her husband work tirelessly to provide for their young child, yet their financial struggles are a constant shadow over their lives. It breaks me to see my daughter burdened by the stress of bills and her child's education. Whenever Emma visits, I quietly slip her a little money, hoping to ease her load, if only for a moment. But even this small act of love ignites tension with Linda. She insists that I should focus on securing my future, arguing that I'm being irresponsible. I understand Linda's concerns, but I cannot turn a blind eye to my daughter's struggles. Linda already receives $600 a month from me, managing most of our household finances. Surely, I have the right to use a portion of my pension to help Emma. It's not about choosing between them. It's about being a father who cares deeply for his child. But every time I extend a helping hand to Emma, the rift in my marriage grows wider. My efforts to support my daughter feel like another battle in a war I never wanted to fight. These struggles have left me feeling emotionally drained, caught between the person I've always been and the man Linda seems to expect me to become. The walks, the dances, the simple acts of kindness, they were once the pillars of my happiness. Now, they feel like fragile memories of a life I'm struggling to hold on to, weighed down by misunderstandings and the ache of unmet desires. In the quiet moments, I can't help but wonder, is it too much to ask for a little peace, a little understanding, and the freedom to be myself? Linda's temperament is a storm I cannot weather much longer. A single misstep, be it an offhand remark or a forgotten favor, can unleash a torrent of anger that engulfs our home. Her yells are sharp, her sulks are heavy with disdain, and her silent treatment stretches for days like an oppressive fog I can't escape. At her worst, she refuses to cook, wielding her silence and absence like weapons. Each of these emotional cold wars chips away at my spirit, leaving me hollow and yearning for the smallest semblance of peace. To stave off her wrath, I often swallow my pride, offering apologies for things I didn't do wrong, groveling for her forgiveness just to stop the pain. It's a fragile dance, one that leaves me perpetually on edge, as if I'm walking on shards of glass. The exhaustion is bone deep, a weariness that no rest can erase. I'm not a man of extravagant needs. In Linda, my second wife, I sought only the basics. Someone to share meals with, to have simple, heartfelt conversations, and to fill the quiet hours with companionship. At this stage in my life, my expectations are modest. When I was younger, I'll admit, I craved more. I desired beauty, ambition, and a strong sense of independence in a partner. But those days are long gone. Now, all I long for is a savior, a home not just of walls and a roof but of understanding, respect, and warmth. Yet, it feels as though even these small desires are beyond reach. I find myself haunted by memories of Margaret, my first wife. Margaret was the embodiment of grace and resilience. She bore the weight of our family's struggles with unwavering strength, sacrificing her own needs time and time again. I, blinded by ambition and youthful arrogance, failed to see the quiet heroism of her daily life. She was kind and hardworking, always putting our daughter, Emma, and me first. The home she built was more than a sanctuary, it was her gift to us, crafted with love and unrelenting effort. But I was too consumed by my work, too focused on my pursuits, to truly honor her sacrifices. I see now how little I gave in return. Margaret's health, eroded by years of strain and neglect, eventually gave out. Her passing left a void that no amount of time or remorse could ever fill. When I married Linda, a woman a decade my junior, I naively believed it could be a new chapter. For a fleeting moment, I thought we could build something meaningful. But as the years passed, her discontent became palpable, a shadow that lingered over every interaction. Linda doesn't hesitate to remind me, in words and actions, that she feels she settled by marrying me. It's a quiet but relentless erosion of my dignity. Her reminders sting, her criticisms pierce deeper than she likely intends, and her actions make it clear that she views our union as an inconvenience rather than a partnership. I've tried to be better in this marriage, to bring more patience and maturity than I did in my first. But my efforts seem to embolden her demands. What were once quirks and idiosyncrasies have turned into sharp blades of disapproval. She mocks my thinning hair, critiques my slouched posture, and ridicules my dental habits. Flossing after meals, a simple act of self-care, is met with disdain so intense that she refuses to sit near me. Her disgust is tangible, her harsh words cutting into the fragile confidence I've managed to preserve over the years. As I reflect on the arc of my life, I am struck by the weight of my regrets. Regrets for the love I failed to cherish, the peace I failed to nurture, and the man I failed to become when it mattered most. In my twilight years, I craved nothing more than kindness and connection. Yet I find myself ensnared in a relationship that feels more like a battleground than a haven. Linda's volatile temperament is a storm I no longer have the strength to endure, and I fear that the joy and peace I once believed in may forever remain out of reach. One night, Linda complained about my snoring, a common nuisance for someone my age. But instead of working together to find a solution, she quietly gathered her bedding, retreated to another room, and never returned. That seemingly small act created a chasm between us, both physical and emotional, that feels insurmountable. The silence of her absence each night weighs on me more than the loudest argument ever could. I lie awake, staring at the space where she once lay, haunted by memories of a time when we were inseparable, our laughter echoing through the very walls that now seemed to mock me with their stillness. I wasn't always this version of myself, this man who feels invisible in his marriage. Once, I was vibrant and confident, a man whose presence turned heads and sparked admiration. At work, women would glance my way, their interest unmistakable, yet I never entertained their advances. My heart belonged entirely to Linda. I saw her as my forever, the woman whose love I thought would remain steadfast through the ebb and flow of life. I was generous with her, offering not just financial security but unwavering affection and support. It was those qualities, paired with my youthful charm, that made her choose me. Or so I believed. Now, the way she looks at me has shifted. Her gaze, once filled with warmth and admiration, now seems laced with disdain, as though I'm a faint echo of the man she once loved. Aging has transformed me in ways I cannot escape. My once dark, thick hair has turned silver. My posture, which was once proud and upright, has softened under the weight of time. My strength, both physical and emotional, feels diminished. These changes are natural, I know, but Linda treats them as flaws, glaring imperfections that she can no longer overlook. The tenderness in her eyes has been replaced by a distant coldness, a frosty reminder that love can falter when it's not deeply rooted in respect. Her indifference stings like a wound that never fully heals, a constant reminder of how far we've drifted. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. I endure this loneliness because, as much as it pains me to admit, I'm afraid of facing old age alone. Life has taught me that people rarely change, and as the years pass, conflicts only seem to grow more tangled. Despite her criticisms and the growing void between us, I've never seriously considered divorce. To me, companionship, even if strained, is better than solitude. But that belief was shaken when Linda's son, Eric, entered the picture in a way that left me questioning everything. Eric, who rarely steps foot in our home unless he needs something, had just purchased a house. Linda insisted that I give him $12,000 to cover some of his expenses. It wasn't that I couldn't afford it, I had the money. What stung was how it was handled. Eric doesn't acknowledge me when he visits. He breezes in to see Linda, asks for what he wants, and leaves without a word of gratitude, as though I am invisible. His disregard feels like a slap in the face, a dismissal of my existence and all I've provided. Respect is a cornerstone of who I am. I believe that if Eric can't extend even the most basic courtesy to me, I am under no obligation to hand him a large sum of money. When Linda brought up the $12,000, her approach was not a conversation but a demand. There was no attempt to explain the situation or appeal to my understanding. Instead, her voice cut through the room like a blade. Eric needs this money for his house. You must give it to him. Her words weren't just commanding. They were devoid of the partnership I thought we shared. At that moment, I realized how isolated I had become, even within my own home. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the way I've been reduced to a shadow, expected to provide without question, to exist without recognition. This is not the life I envisioned when I vowed to share everything with the woman I loved. Now, I wonder if I have given too much, lost too much of myself in the process, and whether there is any way to reclaim the man I once was before it's too late. Her tone and attitude pierced through me like a jagged shard of glass. It wasn't just about the money. It was the stark, unrelenting absence of gratitude for everything I had poured into this relationship. The sacrifices, the quiet compromises, the countless ways I'd tried to make her life a little easier. All of it seemed to dissolve under the weight of her demand. My biological daughter, Emma, has never once asked for such an exorbitant amount from me. I've always done my best to support her, offering small sums to ease her financial burdens. But $12,000? That wasn't just a request. It was a demand for my entire safety net. For years, I had scrimped and saved to build that $16,000, a modest cushion against the unpredictability of life. It was my safeguard, my fragile assurance that I could weather emergencies and maintain a shred of independence in my later years. To hand over $12,000 would have left me clinging to a mere $4,000, a figure so painfully inadequate that even the smallest crisis could shatter my stability. The thought of losing that security to appease Linda's unreasonable demand filled me with a mixture of fear, anger, and profound sadness. I refused. Not out of selfishness, but out of self-preservation. I reminded Linda that I already contribute $600 each month to our shared expenses, a sum far exceeding what's needed for our modest lifestyle. I knew she had likely saved much of that money, yet she never explained why she couldn't dip into her funds to help her son, Eric. When I raised this point, her reaction was swift and explosive, like a storm I hadn't anticipated. Her accusations came fast and sharp. "You care more about money than about us," she spat, her words heavy with venom. "If you won't help my son, then don't expect me to care about you when you need me." The weight of her threat hung in the air like a suffocating fog. Her declaration, that she wouldn't care for me if I ever fell ill, stabbed at my heart with a cruelty I didn't know she was capable of. In that instant, every act of kindness, every moment of patience, every ounce of love I had shown her seemed to be reduced to ashes. I felt gutted, as though I had been stripped of my worth, not just as a partner but as a human being. Her coldness, and her willingness to reduce our relationship to a mere transaction, left me reeling. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the profound lack of respect, the absence of gratitude, and the gaping void where care and empathy should have been. Her words laid bare a truth I had desperately tried to ignore. I was nothing more than a means to an end for her. The pain of that realization was suffocating. It wasn't the loss of $12,000 that hurt the most. It was the loss of the illusion that I mattered to her in any meaningful way. What she demanded wasn't just money. She demanded the erosion of my dignity, my independence, and the last vestiges of trust one had in our bond. And as I stood there, grappling with the weight of her words, I couldn't help but wonder, how had it come to this? How had love turned into something so hollow, so mercilessly transactional? The answer was as devastating as her words. Perhaps it was never love at all. That moment marked a profound turning point in my life. It was as though a veil had been lifted, revealing the harsh truth I had been too afraid to face. If I wanted my life to change, if I wanted peace, dignity, and fulfillment, it was up to me to take action and to take it decisively. With a trembling resolve, I made the difficult decision to stop giving Linda the $600 monthly allowance. I had come to a sobering realization. No matter how much I gave, no matter how tirelessly I tried to meet her needs, it was never enough. Gratitude was an alien concept in our relationship. Her lack of appreciation cut deeper than I could have anticipated, leaving wounds that festered in silence. Shortly after I informed her of my decision, she packed her belongings and moved in with her son, Eric. There was no heartfelt conversation, no attempt to mend what was broken, just a cold retreat to a life she had already chosen for herself. I couldn't help but feel a pang of betrayal. Before we married, Linda had sold her own home to help Eric purchase a larger house, a sprawling 3-bedroom, 2-living-room estate far more luxurious than anything I could have ever afforded. It became evident that she had always seen Eric's home as her true sanctuary, a place where she could settle comfortably and indefinitely. Deep down, I knew her departure was final. She wasn't coming back, and honestly, I didn't want her to. In that pivotal moment of loss and clarity, I realized something liberating. I was free to reclaim control over my life. For too long, I had been trapped in a relationship that drained me emotionally and physically, leaving me hollow and resentful. With newfound determination, I hired a live-in caregiver, a compassionate and attentive soul who has since transformed my existence. Ironically, I pay her the same $600 I once gave to Linda, but the value I receive in return is immeasurable. For the first time in years, I feel truly cared for. I feel respected. I feel peace radiating through the walls of my home, a peace I hadn't known in what felt like a lifetime. Living with Linda had been an exhausting ordeal. The responsibilities fell squarely on my shoulders. If the house wasn't spotless, her sulking would last for days. If I dared to enjoy something as simple as an apple, I had to brace myself for complaints if I didn't peel one for her as well. The constant effort to tiptoe around her mood swings left me feeling like a guest in my own home. Every day was an uphill battle, with no reprieve in sight. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Now, life is unrecognizably different. My caregiver brings warmth and efficiency to my daily routine. Meals are lovingly prepared, the house is immaculately maintained, and my needs are met with genuine kindness. There's no tension, no guilt, no resentment. just a sense of ease that feels like a balm for my weary soul. For the first time, I wake up each morning without a knot of dread in my chest. My home feels like a sanctuary again, a place where I can breathe, rest, and rediscover the joy of living on my own. In hindsight, losing Linda was a gift wrapped in disguise. It was the catalyst I needed to break free from a life of quiet desperation. What I have now isn't just comfort. It's a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that I am worthy of happiness and peace. It took courage to let go, but the reward has been nothing short of life-changing. Sometimes, the hardest decisions lead to the most profound transformations, and for that, I am endlessly grateful. The most profound gift of having a caregiver is the profound sense of peace it brings into my life. She doesn't argue or pick apart my habits. She listens with patience, honors my wishes, and in doing so, gives me something I haven't felt in years: control over my own home and life. It's a striking and liberating contrast to the years I spent living with Linda, where I often felt diminished, as though I were merely a subordinate in a relationship that was supposed to feel like a partnership. This newfound tranquility has given me clarity. The very idea of asking Linda to return is now inconceivable. Instead, I've taken definitive steps to reclaim my life and my happiness. Filing for divorce was not just a decision, it was an act of liberation. I've come to understand with startling clarity that I deserve better than the constant friction, the relentless criticisms, and the erosion of respect that defined our marriage. For the years I have left, I am resolved to embrace the calm and harmony I have now, free from the emotional turbulence that Linda brought into my life. With my modest pension of $1,200 a month, I can comfortably cover the caregiver's salary along with my other expenses. She keeps my home pristine, ensures that my needs are met with thoughtfulness and efficiency, and perhaps most importantly, creates an environment where I can finally exhale. For the first time in what feels like forever, I wake up without dread or resentment. Instead, I feel content, settled, and genuinely at peace. This is the kind of sanctuary I had always longed for in my later years, a solace Linda never provided, nor ever seemed capable of giving. Now, as I reflect on my life, I realize I am genuinely happy. This simple, unassuming existence, centered around comfort, dignity, and quiet joy, is more fulfilling than anything I experienced during my remarriage. The idea of returning to the chaos of another relationship holds no appeal. For the rest of my life, I am committed to preserving this serenity, with a caregiver who not only helps me navigate the challenges of aging but also brings a sense of stability and respect that I treasure deeply. My heart is lighter, my mind is clearer, and my home is finally a haven, a true testament to the life I've chosen and the peace I've finally found. As we come to the end of this journey, it's time to reflect on the powerful message woven through this story. What have you learned from this experience? Perhaps it's the importance of prioritizing peace and harmony in your life, or the realization that it's never too late to reclaim your happiness and dignity. Take a moment to think about one thing from this story that resonated with you the most. What lesson will you take forward and apply in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what inspired you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content that uplifts and inspires. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.